Hi, this is Donald here, and this is my review of The Greek Way by Edith Hamilton. The Greek Way is an evaluation of ancient Greek culture, values, and thoughts during the Golden Age of Greece. The book primarily focuses not so much on the historical aspects of the time, but on how the Greeks thought and what they valued. Edith Hamilton bases her analysis particularly on the poets, authors, and people of that time. I got this book because I really enjoyed Edith Hamilton's classic Greek mythology book, which I think is called Mythology. I enjoyed her simple but elegant style of writing in that book. I bought a used copy of The Greek Way. This was a library binding, which means the library rebound the book and added a new, kind of generic cover on it. The original book was published by W. W. Norton and Company in 1942. I enjoyed the size, the thickness, and spacing of the words, and the old-fashioned paper. I really enjoyed everything. Obviously, it was a used library copy, so I can't really comment on the cover, and some other things I inevitably have to compromise on, but I enjoyed it. It reminded me personally of my university days, and there's a certain magic to used library books that you know has been read by hundreds of people for decades. I loved Edith Hamilton's writing style in this book. I believe it was written during the 30s and 40s, which means it was still in the age of really eloquent, elegant English writing. I wouldn't consider this book an easy read, but I would also wouldn't consider it a complicated read. It will take some effort to get through, but if you put in the effort, you'll get through it, no problem. Edith Hamilton is very well researched in this, but different than what a modern academic would write like, in my opinion. Edith Hamilton is passionate, well-researched, but in a personal sense, and I'll explain that in a second, and she's also grateful for what she's learned. What I mean by well-researched in a personal sense is, rather than relying on tons of other academics and historical analyses of all the authors and topics, she personally just has read all this material a lot and is confident and comfortable with it. The gratitude Edith Hamilton and respect she shows the time period is really refreshing. It's strange to see it these days, but I feel that Edith genuinely loves and respects each of the authors, poets, writers during the time, and genuinely understands and respects both the strengths and weaknesses that she can perceive. It's reflected in her writing, and frankly, her writing style always got me excited to read. There's some difficult sections for sure, but every time I read it, I just wanted to keep reading. She just had me enthusiastic for what she was trying to teach me. Edith Hamilton is restrained, but also not afraid to make very bold claims about what she believes the Greeks stood for. There is a certain level of fire and boldness that you don't see as often anymore, and she doesn't need to base all her conclusions on just mountains of evidence or scientific studies or anything like that. She just has conviction in her writing and in her argument. She believes in herself and in the strength of the primary source material. She'll glean information from other authors and sometimes she'll glean information from authors of totally different time periods, which weren't necessarily writing about the Greeks, they just had similarities. I appreciate that she doesn't really care how I feel. She's just trying to focus on how she feels. I wouldn't call this book emotional, don't get me wrong, and it's very logical in many ways, but I also do feel the passion in it. I recommend this book to those who love ancient Greek history and writing, especially during the golden ages of that time, which would be around the Persian Wars, the Peloponnesian War, Sophocles, Socrates, Plato, that time period. There were definitely moments of this book where I struggled through some of the writing, but at the end of it, I was very grateful I read it, and I think I'll always look fondly back on this book and probably read it several times throughout my life. This book is like a meta-analysis of the people in the time, without getting too bogged down and academic. It was really pretty brilliant in my opinion. Thanks, and that is my review of The Greek Way. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Thanks.